What's going on, everybody? Welcome back after a very long stint away to the latest edition of Sling'n Lead Live. I am, of course, TJ Ramsey, the Lead Sling'n Ginger. With me tonight is Kent Hauer of Green Mountain Defense. Kent, what is going on, buddy?
It's been so long, you almost forgot your own name.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
We got to do more, but we're going to be doing more, but we'll tell them all about that. So what's up, dude? You want to talk about shooting or something?
Yeah. I figured we'd talk about a couple things tonight. So we have talked about training, of course, quite a bit on this show. So I certainly want to talk about some things that we can do at the range. Maybe we can help out some of the newer shooters out there with some tools and ideas for targets that they can bring themselves that are otherwise, less expensive than the $1.50 gigantic targets you might print out or get from the range themselves. Maybe some other things to pack in the range bag. But first and foremost, I want to give a bit of an explanation on where I've been. So most of you watching this channel probably have jobs. So I want you to imagine that if everybody else in your job site or within your employer or your company, or at least everybody on your team, quit, and you were left by yourself to handle all the existing workload. That's essentially what happened to me. So since July of last year, I was on a very small team as it was, but the other few members of my team resigned, went off. Just nothing crazy happened. It wasn't some mass exodus, but they found better employment elsewhere. Besides the fact, I digress on that one. But either way, I was left holding the bag. So while I was able to keep my head afloat and meet the demands of the employer, I didn't have a whole lot of free time, as I'm sure you can imagine. So luckily, we've been able to rebuild my team. We're starting to rock and roll again, and that has been making me a little bit more available to start doing my YouTube broadcasts again. So for those of you that have been subscribed for the duration, thank you guys for your loyalty and continued support. But enough of that crap.
Wait. So what you're saying is that everybody that worked with you quit?
Well, everybody on my team.
And you're the only one left?
I was, yeah.
So they all went like this and said, who's going to be left with Rick? And they all went, boom! Or TJ, excuse me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's been so long, you forgot my name.
It has. What the fuck?
Yeah. So anyway.
Wrong channel.
It's okay. I still love you, buddy. Real quick, though, shout out to Right On Optics. As many of you know, I am on their promotional staff, or I'm a pro staff member of Right On Optics. So it is the optics brand of choice for Lead Sling'n Ginger, or for the Lead Sling'n Ginger channel. So I invite you guys to go check them out. I've got my discount code in the description of this video. They've got red dot optics, variable power optics, binoculars, all sorts of good stuff, great prices. The only veteran-owned company, optics company in the United States. So head on over to rightonoptics.com and check them out. I think you're going to like what you find there. All right, shameless plugs are over. Let's get on with this thing. So, drills, right? First of all, I can't, as the resident firearms instructor.
Yay, right? That's me.
Yeah, the token firearms instructor. Why run drills? What is the purpose of running a drill?
Okay, I'm going to give you my 90-second diatribe on the difference between training and practice and just turning expensive ammo into noise. So training is done under the watchful eye of a supervising instructor or somebody at least capable of diagnosing what you've got going on. Training is where you should be picking up what to practice. So you go to a training class, somebody diagnoses what you've got going on with your grip, with your sight alignment, with your support hand, whatever you've got going on. And they give you some things to work on and say, hey, go drill this at the range and you'll get better.
Right.
A drill should accentuate a weakness or a particular skill set. Drills are done during practice. So dudes that say I train all the time really kind of get under my skin, because they're just going out to the range and making noise. They're not really training. And, I see practice as more of an appropriate term. But a drill is really something that is meant to accentuate a skill It should be measurable, and you should be able to track your progress and improvement. So that's a drill to me. Why should we be doing drills? Because we want to get better, right? We want to get better at a particular skill set, whether that be gun handling, whether that be shooting, whether it be thinking, whether it be recognizing a threat versus a non-threat target, moving with a gun in and around, other non-threats, things of that nature. So there's a lot of drills that can be done to accentuate different things. But the bottom line is a drill should have a point and a purpose and should be something that is building to an overall skill set. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. So I look at it, I think I look at it a little bit more fine-tuned than that. And by that, I mean a drill, I look at it as a pyramid, right? Or at least varying grains of sand or dirt, right? So if we look at the overall construct, and that is the ability for a human being to defend themselves and deploy their firearms appropriately, right? Be it in competition or self-defense real world scenario or combat, whatever the case might be. That construct is made up of, individual grains. Drills are there to refine those individual grains. Does that make sense?
I like it.
So
that's a good way to put it.
So like a prime example, and we're going to look at a few of the different drills that we like to run. We're going to show some of our favorite drills that we like to take and do at the range. But if you look now, there are compounded drills, right? But even just standing, in your garage or, a designated safe area of your house, even just taking that firearm and doing dry fire practice. So you're drawing the gun, right? Just in and out of the holster, presenting on a target. That is a drill, right? And it's refining that very fine, or a couple of very fine points for gripping the firearm, getting a purchase on the firearm, and then removing that firearm from its holster and then presenting it out to the target and then acquiring your sights. So that's like 4 minuscule movements or things that can be fixed on just that one drill. And what's great about drills is you could always break them down further to refine those individual points. So prime example, and we're going to just to show here. So we do have clear firearm, right? So I don't even have to have a holster. If I'm just getting into this and all I've got is my firearm, then maybe all I want to do is just from a high ready, just line up the target, line up with a target on the wall, draw a dot, something. But just this right here, that's a drill. So yeah, that's my take on drills. So the next evolution of that would be, I mean, you could call it a couple of different things, but just for ease of definition, we'll call it, scenarios. So running a scenario, so like with your IDPA shooting, you're baking in your movement, but it's a lot more, I guess, major skill refinement. So actual moving, I consider moving a major motor skill. Walking, running, whatever. That's obviously a much larger motor skill or a much more major motor skill than like trigger squeeze, right? So that's where scenarios go in. So I'm trying to get everybody's mind in the same frame of reference here. So drills are the finer grains that we use to build up into the scenarios that ultimately fill and enable, make more efficient, refine the overall tactical or practical application of a firearm for whatever instance that might be. So
leave it to an IT mastermind to really do a good job of defining terms. Nice job.
Dude, I do. It's from my time in the military, briefing all the officers.
I like it.
The guys who like to take something simple and complicate it. If you don't have that skill, you might as well talk to the wall. But yeah, so that's my take on drills, and that's why I like to run drills. And I think what's more important for everybody at home to understand, no matter what range configuration you might have available, there are drills that you can do that can help make you better. You don't have to have, a big like 180-degree range where you could run around and tuck and roll and tactical bunny hop and all that other good stuff. You can do this on a very static flat range, a very static indoor range where maybe you can't even draw from the holster. There's stuff that you can do there that can still make you very proficient with your firearm. So
two of the ones I'm going to share today are my favorite for the old, oh yeah, I'm on an indoor range. I'm really limited in what I could do. There's a lot you can do on an indoor range. Even if you don't, like I don't want to say I have control of mine, like I own the place. I have control of my environment in the sense that there's no stalls, there's no bays. If I'm in there by myself, I can do whatever I want within the 180. But even if you're at an indoor range with a, an action target system that goes from 0 to 25 yards and you've got one bay and one stall, I've got at least one teed up tonight on my screen that we can do that, you can do that right, in the lane that you're paying by the half hour for, and it'll work fine. And you're not going to violate any safety regulations or any issues.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Actually, there's a couple of ranges. One in particular is probably, and I used to work at an indoor range. I know how uptight those guys can be, but from their cable system, the target hanger itself has like kind of a half backer board, and it's got a red line and a black line above where. So the black line is where you hang target here. The red line above that, if you shoot above that red line into the backer board, like it's apparently at a dangerous angle that would cause damage to the track or the equipment. And I get it. You want to protect your equipment, but God help you if you shoot above that red line or break that red line. Right.
Right. Like, and I feel the same way when I go into a place like that and there's a dude watching me on a security camera and, they're going to make you watch a 15-minute video from the National Shooting Sports Foundation that I've seen 20 times. And you and I could probably do better like tomorrow with an iPhone camera. But anyhow, like I get it, right? Those dudes have absolutely no idea who's coming to that range. They have no way of knowing who you are when you walk through the door. So they're going to be a little skeptical and a little bit concerned about, general safety and liability and all kinds of other stuff. Plus they've got, I think I heard once at Action Target, every one of those lanes is a $60,000 bill. So for every one lane, you're looking at $60,000. I mean,
oh yeah, dude. I mean, I've had to repair those lanes. I've seen negligent discharges. I've had guys shoot the lights out. Like it's unbelievable the stuff you see when you work at a range like that, right? I even recall a time when someone put a round of double-aught buckshot into the ceiling and took out the HVAC system.
Sounds like my family reunion.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot that could go. So bottom line is those guys are indoor ranges are uptight, but many of them are uptight for a reason, right? Yeah. So, but with that, Kent, what are some of your favorite drills? Okay, so let's set the stage. You're going to a range. It's indoor. You don't have the whole, the bay set up where you can do like 180-degree shooting and moving. You're just going to stand there, no holster. God help you if you draw from a holster and fire.
Right.
But all you've got in front of you is your table and your newly purchased firearm.
Yep. You see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first drill for this is called the test. If you can see this is what's called a B8 right here. It's a scoreable target with ring zones, the X ring going out, 9, 8, 7, 6. You get the idea. So the test is done from 10 yards. You got 10 rounds in your mag. This black circle here, 9 and in, is 5.5-inch diameter right here. So the idea being 10 yards, 10 rounds, start from the low ready and see if you can keep every round inside this black in under 10 seconds. 10 yards, 10 rounds, 10 seconds from the low ready. So the drill works a couple of things, right? 10 yards is what's going to be an intermediate distance. So you are going to have to work some trigger prep and some trigger squeeze into your shots here. You're not just going to be able to Rambo it like you can from 5-yard superstar land. Also, anybody can keep their recoil control together for 2 or 3 rounds. 10 rounds is where you're going to start to come apart. If you're going to have recoil mitigation issues or support hand issues, you're going to see it here. So for your typical right-handed shooter, what you're going to see is you're going to see rounds start to, X ring, 10 ring, and they start doing this little deal and they start trending low and left as guys start to lose their support hand grip.
That low and left specifically for the Glock shooters in the group.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Support hand is a real thing, man. You can jerk a trigger to a certain degree and get away with it, but if you have a soft support hand, you're going to be flinging them down into flinch town every time. So the test, 10 yards, 10 rounds, 10 seconds. Standard disclaimer, this is not my shit at all. This is Hackathorn and Vickers came up with this stuff. So
you better put some reverence in your voice when you say those names, boy.
Yeah, exactly. The great
young man.
The great. Yeah, yes, sir. The great. No, I'm actually not being sarcastic. Those guys are great.
Oh yeah, like they are gods in the training community. Let's be
exactly
honest.
Right. So, those dudes came up with this. You can either shoot it for score, and try to see what your score is if you're getting good, or you could simply do 10 yards, 10 rounds, 10 seconds, and anything in the white adds a second. So if you burn it down in 6, but you got 5 out here,
you're over your time.
You're over your time, and I don't care about you.
Right. So the key thing for those playing the home game, 5.5-inch circle. That'll fit on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, guys.
Yep.
So you don't have to print those out. Just draw a 5.5-inch circle on a piece of paper. Call it good. Cheapest target you'll ever have.
You know what I do a ton of is if you take your standard dinner plate size paper plate, the little circle that is the interior of that plate.
Yeah, so where the walls start to form.
Correct.
Just inside it, yep.
Correct. You take that little inner circle, it measures the same distance, and you can either cut it out and put it up on a backer board, and you either got it or you didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could put the paper plate up and draw the circles and treat it like it's real time. But I mean, geez, on your way to the range, stop at the dollar store and buy a $1 bag of paper plates to staple up there. You don't need to pay the guy behind the rental counter freaking $5-10 for special super duper targets. But yeah, 10 yards, 10 rounds, 10 seconds. I'm running this in like 498, 525 territory. Shooting it clean in the high 90s. I can tell you right now, when I started to care about it, like when I knew this was a thing about a year and a half ago, and I got into it, I started taking it for granted, and I'd burn it down except for that 1 or 2 shots, and I'd flub my time all up. I'd still be under 10, but I'd be 9.81, and I'd I don't want to just barely pass it. I want to burn it down, right? And as you advance this drill, and if you want to take it somewhere else, now we can take it out onto a range that's allowing us to draw from a holster, and now we can try to be under 10 with a draw stroke.
Right.
So, and that's what you said. Every drill can be broken down a little more incrementally. We can try to be under 10 with a draw stroke. If you have the ability to shoot low light at an indoor range, you can do the same thing. Add weapon light activation. You could try to do 2 of these. You could put 2 up on a target backer and try to do 2 in under 20 seconds with a reload. So 10, reload 10.
And you're getting a little bit of a transition in there as well.
Yeah,
that's another thing I like about drills too, is so aside from, breaking them down, right, to refine even finer skill sets, so down to trigger press, even just purchase on the pistol, all that other stuff, sight alignment, so on and so forth. You can increase the complexity or the standard on your own and really push yourself to the limit, right? You should be missing. If you ever get to the point where you're getting an A every single time you take the test, okay, maybe it's time to advance to the AP calculus class, right? So like you said, throw up the 2 targets, add a reload in there, all that other good stuff.
This is so just to add to that, and this is a running theme for me. I'll take one of these drills like TJ and I are going to talk about tonight. It might not always be the test. I won't spoil the others for you. But every time I show up to the range, the very first thing I do is one of these drills, first score, 4-time, cold performance. Not 200 rounds in, not a ton of dry fires in, etc. You walk up to the range, you staple up your B8, you go to 10 yards, load, make ready, little beeper goes beep, and I want to see what your time is right now, cold, on demand. Why is that important to me? Two things. Number one, because that's who you are when you're going to use your equipment, right? You're not, when you're out in the real world, you're not going to have 200 practice reps before you take the test. You're going to be asked to stand and deliver when it matters most. And number two,
you don't get a warm up in.
No,
I don't want to be too cheesy, but you don't get a warm up in a gunfight, right?
No, that's where I'm going, or a competition. So a gun.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
you could game the system, and be like, do over.
Yeah, maybe. But my point being that that's number one. That's a good idea of the skill level that you have attained and anchored, and B, I like to track that performance, because when you take notes and you write stuff down, all of a sudden you're going to really see, hopefully, a measurable performance improvement. If you're doing like I'm doing and you're out 3 times a week shooting and your ass is getting worse and worse on every test, we need some remedial help, right? Like, it's time to hire a tutor. I'm available for $100 an hour for a private.
Yeah. So it's diagnostic as well.
Absolutely.
Right? Even this is not intentional for the ladies, but typically ladies go to the range with their significant other, boyfriend, husband, whatever, and they're kind of stuck shooting the same targets or running the same type of range experience that their significant other is, taking them to, right? If your boyfriend or husband just wants to stand there and shoot, the standard law enforcement style target at a fixed distance, fine. But you go up and you're missing all the time. Maybe you haven't had proper training. Always seek out proper training, of course. But maybe you want to, I'm just not getting this. Start looking at some of these drills, especially the ones that I'm going to show you guys here in a minute. So the next time you go to the range, hey, let me try this out. There are some drills out there that are available that can actually be very diagnostic in nature. Dot torture comes to mind, but we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So another point I wanted to make about drills too is they can actually make your range experience that much more fun.
Oh yeah, it becomes totally, especially when you got we got a group over here Thursday nights. Group of us get together from the IDPA and the USPSA club, and we put each other through drills. Right, that's all we do. There's probably about 15 dudes, maybe 20 on a busy night. We run relays and we do drills with each other, and it becomes like shooting pool with the boys, right? Oh, Kent shot the test in a 5.21. Let's see if I can get a 5 flat. Oh, this guy shot this here. Let's see, and it becomes just a little bit of peer pressure is a real thing, and that stress helps stress inoculate you. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, TJ and I in a range together could easily burn an afternoon playing horse with each other, going, oh yeah, you can do that. Let me show you this.
It reminds me of those old commercials from the 90s. Off the backboard, through the open window, off the car bumper, nothing but bullseye, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going to tell you this right now, and this is from experience. Even if you go to the nicest indoor range on the planet, and all you do is shoot like a full-size law enforcement target at whatever distance, time and time again, it's going to get boring, and you're going to end up not going.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just like light bulb. If you're the dude, and TJ brought this up and you did a good job of it. If you're the dude taking your lady to the range and she's bored with it, maybe it's because you're doing the same stuff all the time. Just a thought.
No, and that's absolutely right. And I think that was so in the short time that I attempted to do the instructor thing. Sadly, I live in an area where not a whole lot of people want any type of formalized training. And, hey, that's their prerogative. But anyway, there's a lot of people out there, and I'd be willing to bet that many of those ladies that are stuck at the, and I'm going to use the word stuck at the range with their significant other, he probably hasn't gotten a whole lot of training himself. So even if she wants to get better and she's trying to figure out what she's doing wrong or what she's not maybe doing the best, I'd be willing to bet he probably doesn't have the capacity, or at least the proper training himself, to be able to diagnose what is going wrong in her shooting mechanics.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like you or I can look at somebody's target and tell exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, to a degree, assuming a few things, assuming correct sight pictures from the beginning. And it's, it's always tough to, you get that standard. I hate that freaking target wheel, right, with the slices of pie. And like on every slice of the pie, it shows a different, like, if you're high and right, you're always milking. If you're low and left, you're always. I hate always, right? Like, because always is just a bad axiom in life.
It's too definite.
Exactly. But to a degree, if you start to see a pattern where you start to see X-ring, 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 Shanksville, X-ring, 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 Shanksville, and X-ring is always in the same place and Shanksville is always in the same place, I could pretty much tell you're anticipating a recoil when your support hand's getting tired.
Something I learned. So I will milk I have, excuse me, I will milk the grip every now and then. And this just from, sweaty hands, recoiling firearm, it will work itself loose, right? But I just from doing dry fire drills that I've been doing lately, I actually realized that I'm flinching my support hand. So trigger squeeze on the dominant hand is fine, but when that trigger squeeze goes off, I'm tensing my support hand, which which always will throw your shot off. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's something that I discovered from that. So with that, let's take a look. I'm going to throw you guys a bone here. Now, links to these are in the description of this video. Okay, so I invite you guys to go check them out. So the first one I'm going to show you guys is, well, both of these are resources for companies that offer free targets. You can download them, print them out. All of them fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. If I can remember how to share my screen here. Okay. So the first one is for T-Rex arms. If you go to trex-arms.com/training-aids, you can scroll down here and you see they have all these targets set up here at the top. All of these can be downloaded and printed out and taken to the range. I see guys with these all the time. I use these myself. The flinch target is probably one of my favorites, and I'll try to zoom in here a little bit. So the flinch target essentially is dot torture. The intent of this target is, again, in my opinion, diagnostic, right? So each of these targets, at least on both of these resources, has a description on, how to run that particular drill. Keep in mind that it's obviously not written in stone. You can always do what you want with it. But this one in particular, the prescribed method of fire is 1 round per dot, just nice and slow, 1 round per dot. The intent is to see where your bullets are landing as you transition from dot to dot, and then start to identify the weaknesses in the mechanics of your trigger squeeze and your grip and maybe even your sight alignment. So there's a lot you can do with that. But this is just an example of the dot torture, or what I would consider falls into that diagnostic drill category. Okay, so obviously there's some others here. Like I said, there's links to these down in the description. I invite everybody to go check these out. We did have an opportunity to run several of these at the T-Rex Arms 2-gun match last year, which was a lot of fun. And a lot of these drills are pretty darn good. I approve them. Not like he needs my validation, but whatever. So Baer Solutions, another training organization that I like a lot. I follow them on Instagram and Facebook. These guys are just fantastic. This right here is probably my favorite drill to run, period. So this is the standard target or the standards target. Very, very simple. 2 rectangle gray boxes.
Hey, TJ.
And, yeah.
I'm sorry, brother. Can you zoom in a bit more?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can blow it up much more, but... Oh, wait, there we go.
Yeah. All right, continue.
Yeah, so with the 2 boxes, course of fire is very, very simple. Draw or present your firearm on the target at the sound of a buzzer. 5 rounds in either the left or right target. You start wherever you want, but 5 rounds in one gray box. Immediately transition to 5 rounds in the other gray box. The idea is you only have 10 rounds loaded in that first magazine. So you go to slide lock, reload, and put 3 rounds well aimed in the center circle. Now the standard for this, at least as I recall it, I could be wrong here, but as I recall it, is 9 seconds from a draw. It sounds easy. I promise you it is not. But this drill in particular is a lot of fun and a personal favorite of mine. I try to take this and do this drill, or at least a variation thereof, every time I go to the range. I might use the paper. If I have a brain fart and don't print it out and take it with me, then I'll set up targets, or I'll just draw rectangles on the cardboard or the steel target. I typically take some spray paint with me. If it's a steel target, spray paint, a couple of small squares and a small dot in the middle, and go that way with it. But yeah, there are free resources out there, people, is really what the bottom line of this is. Now you know where to find stuff like this. Understand that these are only 2 of the countless resources that are available. So by all means, I invite you guys to visit these pages, print these out, and just get better and go to the range and train.
So can you leave that up real quick?
Yeah, sure.
For those of you wondering, going from, full speed hair on fire in those big boxes, right? Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to put your dot or your front sight in that big box, and you're going to go, oh, I got target all around my dot, or I got target all around my sight. I'm going to go down to Chinatown. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to hammer out like a 3-0 split. You're going to do the same on the other one. You're going to hammer out 2-1 or 3-0 splits. And then you're going to go to slide lock, and all of a sudden, you better know where your clutch is, and you better be able to downshift to get into that smaller circle. That's
Right.
really the magic key here, is being able to refocus your mental switch, if you will, and slow down and put those rounds in that little circle. Because all of a sudden,
it's throttle control. Throttle control is what they call it.
If you're not at 3 yards, if you're back at like 7, and you put a 325 MOA dot in that 3-inch circle, you're not going to see a lot of circle around your dot. And now you better be on point with your trigger mechanics and your grip. And yep. I really like this one.
Yeah. And the prescribed distances, if you guys can't read them from the screen, prescribed distances for pistol is 3, 5, or 7 meters, and rifle is 5, 7, or 10 meters. So the idea is for the pistol, it is in your holster, hands not touching the weapon. Naturally, you can modify that if you're at an indoor range where you can't draw from the holster. Set it on the table maybe. Obviously, keep it in a safe direction at all times. Or maybe even a low ready position where the tip of the muzzle is touching the table, or the bottom of the frame is touching the table. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys get what I'm talking about here. And then, of course, rifle is from the lower high ready. So it all sounds easy, but like Kent said, that throttle control is really what gets you. So I'll be perfectly honest. I've run this drill a couple of times from concealment, and it's always on the reload that gets me, because I typically don't have a concealed carry rig that has a spare magazine on my belt somewhere. So I have to dig into a pocket or something to get to that spare magazine, and that will blow your time right there until you really get good at it. So.
Also with the rifle, if you're that close, if you're at 10 yards with a rifle, you better be paying attention to that optical offset. So you better be putting that dot on the high side of that circle, if not a little above the circle, to put those rounds where you want them.
Yep, exactly. So
sweet.
Okay. So I think that covers the drill part of it. So let's talk about the range a little bit more itself. So, Kent, I asked you this question before we started the show, and that was to come up with 3 things that you keep in your range bag that you take to the range with you that is not gun or ammo, related. So something that most people probably wouldn't think to put in their range bag.
Sure. You want me to do all 3 at once?
Yeah, yeah. You go for it. You go. I'll tell you what. We'll switch off. You pick one, and
Yeah.
I'll spit one out
Yeah,
for
yeah.
myself.
Okay. So, serious time. First one is a med kit. And unfortunately, I still see plenty of guys and gals show up to the range with no med kit on their person or in their bag. At our place, I say our place, West Shore Sportsman's here in Lewisburg, PA. We leave ammo cans that are actually mounted permanently at every shooting station with first aid supplies in them, but not everybody else does that. You better have a tourniquet, you better have a pressure dressing, you better have the big boy blowout kit shit just in case. But also, I've broke out the med kit more for like boo-boo band-aids and aspirin and sunscreen and chap lips and so I'll even change it to a personal comfort kit because I've got the blowout kit, and I've also got one of those typical like hiking / first aid med kits in it, and a little Neosporin, a little Carmex chapstick for people's lips and face and stuff. We're on the range; it's hot all day.
Oh, so you're that awkward guy that's continuously and perpetually applying Carmex with his pinky while everyone else is shooting.
I don't do it with my pinky. I have my range buddy lick it and apply it to my beard for later use.
Oh dear God!
But people get slide bite. People get all kinds of stuff, and you need just a little something to doctor them up and keep them on the range. So med kit / personal comfort kit. That's my addition. What do you got?
Okay, so obviously, we're going to go, the med kit's kind of a given. I'll agree with you 100% there. So one of the things that I like to bring, honestly, a staple gun.
Yeah.
Very simple. A lot of people, you might not even need it, but I promise you, when you do, you're going to be looking around and ain't nobody going to have one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is especially true with outdoor ranges because a lot of them have wood frame target holders. So replacing cardboard or anything like that. Also, even if your range does have one or multiple, I guarantee you there isn't one that works. So
yeah, it's broken and it's got the wrong size staples laying there. And oh
yeah. God, somebody please just improve the technology of the staple gun. I don't care how much you spend on it; they will inevitably just blow up. But yeah,
I'm telling you.
So I'm going to go with staple gun. As one of the first things that goes into my range bag, aside from, of course, your med kit. But I keep I'm kind of an exception because I keep a med kit in my car anyway.
Yeah, same.
I think I do want to capitalize or caveat onto one of your points that you made. The major blowout stuff is important, but honestly, the Band-Aids and Neosporin, like the little bitty things, are what you will probably use the most. So
absolutely correct.
So +1 on the Flintstone Band-Aids and Owie cream.
Oh, who is it? Was it Caleb Giddings on primary and secondary that was talking about? He was saying how he only keeps like Flintstones and Simpsons Band-Aids and stuff. So when some big tough monster dude gets an ouchie, he gets to put a Simpsons Band-Aid on him and make him feel like a fool for the rest of the day for getting slide bite.
I'd up that. I'd one up that with Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Although the downside is, being in a house with 2 children, it's really hard to keep cartoon character Band-Aids like for any long period of time because they think they're stickers. But anyway, what's the second thing in your range bag?
You asked for uncommon stuff, so there's a lot of common stuff in my range bag. But a thing I keep around that not a lot of dudes do is zip ties. Besides the student that wants to get away that I have to temporarily handcuff to the shooting bench. No, just kidding.
I'm telling you, Kent, you got to start taking payment up front.
Yeah. Anyway, no, zip ties are great for a couple things. Number one, those wooden target stands that we talked about are often shot to what, right? So it's hard to get a staple to sink into them, or they're off kilter. Like you got one real long and one real small, and you need to be able to like anchor the top point. So a zip tie running diagonally or 2 zip ties running diagonally sometimes could be the difference. So I really like that. Plus, they're great for rifle slings and repairing on your range bag and adding a zipper pull where your zipper pull came off of something. I'm a zip tie freak. I keep zip ties in the truck. I keep them in my office bag. I always have zip ties around. You give me some zip ties and some duct tape, and I can re-engineer the world. So, got a bunch of zip ties.
Yeah, well, what's the saying? If 550 cord and duct tape can't fix it, it ain't worth fixing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, the zip ties is actually a good one. I'm going to have to add a bag of those to my range kit because now that I think about it, that would probably even be more useful than the staple gun in many instances.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So, yeah, that's a good one. All right, so second thing, a black permanent marker and, more importantly, a silver permanent marker. More specifically for marking targets, but also labeling your equipment. You ever lend a magazine out to somebody or, you're out shooting with a bunch of buddies. And you realize that you brought new magazines or something that don't have your name on it and you want to get those back. Really good way to do that, especially on black plastic, as most Glock magazines are, right? Black marker isn't going to show up. But like for Kent's, the test target that has a black circle, silver markers show up better. So if you're trying to mark your impacts, use those silver Sharpies. So simple, but I have gone through, honestly, in all my life, I have gone through more silver Sharpies just from going to the range than I have even a ballpoint pen that sits on my desk all day. You can't use those enough. So paint markers would probably be a good example too.
Certain individual with the same last name as you in chat, who I'm guessing is your brother.
Yeah, that would be my brother. Is
mentioning that we must have our dip in our mouth in order to be accurate. So he wants that can of Skull in there as well in your range bag. Yeah, there you go.
I won't talk about the brand. I'll let people guess from the color combination. But until they start sponsoring me, I'm not mentioning those guys. I'm going to treat this like NASCAR.
Levi Garrett or bust, man. Levi Garrett or bust. I haven't chewed since my daddy chewed. It's been a very, very long time, but yeah. Anyhow.
If you're going to wear the flannel and the jeans and the cowboy boots to the range, you might as well have the Copenhagen or skull ring in your back pocket, right?
Oh, yeah. As long as you don't play any of that Luke Bryan tractor rap.
Oh, the Yeti Cooler Pop Country?
Yeah, that.
The only reason Yeti coolers get sold is because a bunch of high school preppy boys decided to put on a cowboy hat they found at Walmart and start singing.
Tractor rap. Okay, where were we? You had your marker.
Yep, I brought up the markers.
Okay. So either Scotch tape or official Target pasties, right? So I hate shooting at a target that's got a bunch of big baseball-sized holes in it. I want to paste my rounds or tape my rounds off so I know, what sequence I shot what in. So if I do 2 to the head, 2 to the head, 2 to the head across 3 targets, then reload and 2 to the body across those same 3 targets going back the other way, I want to be able to walk up and paste off all those hits and then do it again just so I can make sure I'm still putting them where I want to be putting them. So tape or pasties or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, pasties are a big deal. Masking tape works well too.
Yep.
Yes, you can use duct tape too, Jeff. Duct tape works just fine. I mean, duct tape, let's just face it, it holds the universe together. But any type of tape to reinforce, especially if you've got cardboard backers, because like you've said, I've had cardboard backers that have been shot all to hell. You put enough masking tape or duct tape on it, got practically a brand new thing. I can't fix my truck with pasties. That's true. Okay, so third and final thing. This is gonna sound really weird, but I call it liquid grip. Liquid grip. So essentially, what it is, you can find it in the weightlifting area of your local sporting goods store in many cases. I've also seen it in the racquetball section, oddly enough. But all it is
racquetball section.
Yeah. No kid.
Where are you shopping that still has a racquetball section?
Academy.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Academy Sports is a big chain out here. Yeah.
No. I know Academy is a thing. I've never been in one because I've very often not below the Mason-Dixon line, but
Yeah. So what liquid grip is, essentially it's like liquid chalk. If I remember correctly, it's got an alcohol base to it, and when you apply it, it leaves the chalk residue behind and helps enhance the grip. Really, really handy, especially if you go into a lot of competitions. Uh, it could be a game changer. So, but it will leave your hands really dry and like actually milky. So if you're wearing dark clothes and you put that stuff on, do not touch your clothes because you're going to look like you spent an afternoon in detention like Bart Simpson writing on the board. But yeah, that stuff is a lifesaver to me, especially for competition.
all right, so I'm going to add a toolkit including batteries and cleaning accessories. Nothing worse than running out of 18650s, CR123s, or CR2032 batteries on the range. We need a toolkit to be able to fix our zero, fix our sling, fix our M-lock slots, whatever the heck like that. It never fails. Equipment seems to go down in the middle of a class or the middle of a match or somewhere where you don't want it to. If you don't have some Allen wrenches on you, if you don't have a Glock front sight tool, if you don't have any of that kind of stuff with you, you could end up out in the water. So toolkit's pretty good. TJ is currently reading the chat and laughing. I can just tell.
Oh, God.
You can tell my jokes if you want to on air. I won't be sad.
Is it ducked or duck? It depends on the brand, actually. If it's generic, it's ducked with a T. And if it's name brand, there's a little duck on it. And I call that duck tape, as in quack, quack. So, yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I quacked myself up.
Oh, dear God. Dad jokes everywhere. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, the toolkit's a great thing. And I'll tell you what, that's another thing. Maybe it's just Murphy's Law, but my toolkit for my firearms is a little 3-drawer Craftsman's toolbox. Like it ain't that little fancy, thing you can get from Walmart or whatever that's got like a boar snake. Like and it weighs about 50 pounds. There was a match I decided to go to, and I was like, you know what? I just cleaned all my guns. I'm fine. I don't need this. I'll be damned if I didn't have a round come like from my reloads in my rifle. I had a double feed, and the projectile wedged itself out and spilled powder all down my chamber, all inside my star chamber for my AR. Yeah, I was really wishing I had a chamber brush at that moment. Luckily, I go to the range with a bunch of good dudes, but had I been there by myself that day, let's just say it would have been a short range trip.
No. The next couple of rounds would have just been real interesting.
I couldn't get them in.
That bad?
Yeah, like 25 grains of loose powder spilled inside my chamber. I couldn't load anything.
Oh my God!
But yeah, sure enough, we knocked all that loose powder out of there, and it ran like a champion. But yep. Yeah, that's what happens. So, but cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on as always. I think we covered quite a bit here. So I'll turn it over to you for a moment if you have anything to say in closing, so we can get out of here.
Things to say in closing. Look for more from TJ and myself. Him and I have been talking about getting serious and giving you guys more content, mainly to help people. Look to his channel for that, Let's Sling'n Ginger. Look to my channel for stuff, Green Mountain Defense. Starting to get serious and starting to, really ramp up the content. So that's all good. www.greenmountaindefense.com if you want to take a class. Hit us up in South Central PA. And if you're out on the training circuit taking classes from other good instructors, you will probably see my big fat hind end out there with you getting my learn on, because I got a bunch of classes coming up as well. So
yeah, you're hosting a class coming up soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I should be plugging that, shouldn't I? April 13 and 14 here at the West Shore Sportsman's Club in Lewisberry, PA. Scott Jidlinski with the Modern Samurai Project is coming out to do his 2-day Red Dot Fundamentals. Scott is a masterclass USPSA shooter, along with being a primary and secondary moderator and a dude who's got the Modern Samurai Project podcast. He's a bit of a subject matter expert when it comes to the red dot pistol for defensive use, and he's been doing a lot of law enforcement department training and helping agencies integrate red dots into their program and into their TTPs. So if you want to come out and get your red dot learn on, we got 2 days for $450, and you can link to that as well over on my website at Green Mountain Defense. So look for that.
Awesome.
That's all.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. You know I love you, and anytime you want to get serious and do this stuff, I'll be more than happy to do it, and I'll try not to be too inappropriate in the process.
I mean, there's always room for being inappropriate. I mean, let's be real. So, but now with that, Kent, thanks for coming on again, buddy. I really do appreciate it. Always appreciate your input as an active and experienced instructor. So thank you for being my token instructor. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Once again, I invite you all to go check out the websites for those drill targets. Again, the links will be in the description of this video. Please stop by and check out Right On Optics, rightonoptics.com. Remember, promo code TRamsey for 15% off at checkout. Great optics, red dots, variable power optics, and binoculars. They've also got new and exciting stuff coming out all the time. We just got finished up with SHOT Show. That was a fantastic experience for the company. So look for a lot of really, really great things to be coming out from that. So with that, guys, wish you all the best. And until we talk to each other again, get out and shoot.